Hello, welcome. My name is Byron Gonzalez. You're here on the Latin Alt, and I have a special interview for you. But first, again, my name is Byron Gonzalez. You can check the radio station out at latinalt.org. And if you're checking this out on YouTube or Instagram, make sure you're following us or subscribing to us. Right now, I am very happy to present Henao. I hope I said that right. I'm always my vowels, if you put too many vowels together, I get confused.
No, honestly, it's fine. So you pronounce the H as silent, so you would just say Henao.
And
Like
now,
it's almost like the H doesn't exist. Yeah,
yeah, and
exactly.
now. It's my bilingual brain too, you know.
Exactly.
I know that rule, but my English part is like, say the H.
Yeah, no, I can't tell you how many times growing up, like all my teachers and everybody would mess it up, especially here in Texas. They would add like that southern twang to it, and I'm just like, yeah, you're totally ruining in my last name, you know,
I know.
because it is my last name. Just so everybody knows, like it's my artist's name is my last name. So
There
yeah.
we go. Well, thank you for taking the time, and I'll really appreciate it. I've been enjoying your two new singles, Me Quede and No Control. It's wonderful music.
Oh, thank you.
And how are you doing today? Where do you find yourself right now? Where are you? And yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good. So I am right now, I'm in Houston, Texas. I came down because yesterday was my mom's birthday and she's very big on us spending it with her, just my sister and I, because my sister lives in Austin. So we were just like, okay, I'm gonna fly in from LA and she's gonna come in and we're just gonna spend time with her. Because last year we didn't get to do that, you know? So I feel like whatever opportunity we can to make things happen, we will, you know, because family's super important for us. And but yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at right now. It's super rainy out here. It's definitely very different from LA. I'm getting so used to the sunny weather and, you know, that very horrible heat up in the valley. So it's
Yeah,
nice, but you know, it's a constant transition from one to another and it's crazy. But yeah, I'm doing well. Just enjoying my time with family right now and enjoying my little vacation.
well, that's really good to hear. I'm glad that you're able to spend your birthday with your mom or your mom's birthday with her. It's super important. I'm sure she appreciates it like a whole lot. But let's talk about you as an artist. You have a lot of music out. It's really impressive. You work with so many artists. You have a lot of collaborations and a lot of singles as well. But I want to know, how did it all start? Is your family a musical family? Does anybody play music like themselves? Are they singers or like how did this come about?
Well, to answer your question, like in terms of my family, there's not really any musical beings here. My parents can't hold a note worth anything. My sister, you know, my sister may have like she has a little singing voice to her, you know. I think if she would have developed it, maybe she might have been able to do something, but it wasn't really her passion. But I will say that the only one in my family that holds like that talent within her is my grandma, my dad's mom. Like she has like I felt like had she had the resources and the support, you know, in her time, because she's 100 and
Wow.
wait, how old is my grandma right now? No, she's not 100. Sorry, I'm lying. She just turned. I was like, wait, did she? No, we celebrated her 90th recently, so she's 90. She just turned 93, and but I do believe she'll get to 100. I always get confused. I'm like, 'cause you're so old.
It's true. I
but
mean, once
but
it passed 90.
yeah, you're just like, you know, whatever. But yeah, she actually has an amazing singing voice, you know. She A lot of my family members, they say like that's you got that gene from her. Like you have that the musicality because that's all she loved to do. She comes from like out in the country, like she's always been a country girl. And Yeah, I mean, I feel like I developed that from her. At least, you know, I feel like that was like a gift from like within the family, I guess. But where it all started for me was in high school. I was like singing hooks for like underground rappers here in Houston, and I just kind of started dabbing into that. And I felt like, you know, being so young, I was like, you know what? I love the feeling of going to studio, even if there was like, I got to go to maybe a couple of nice studios, but most of them were just like home studios, like,
Right.
like we'll build it in the closet studio, you know? And I don't know, I just like fell in love with it. And And then, I always felt like that passion within me, like I just started developing it a little bit more. And then I remember once I left school, I told a friend of mine, I was like, I really want to do like a I don't know, top 40 hit. I don't care. Throw me anything. I wasn't specific on any genre. And we released like my first single. It's called Criminal at the time. It was like 2013. It was super like poker face Lady Gaga vibes, like around that time. Totally not the direction I'm going, but I was just like, I just want to do something, right? And strangely enough, it started getting some like eyes in the industry, and it was just put on SoundCloud. And I remember I had people like hitting me up, and they're like, "Oh, do you have more music?" And I'm like, "Well, no, that's all I have." And they would just be like, "Well, bye."
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of how it started. But I started to get more into it, and then I was like, no, I have to go full force with it, and that's kind of how it developed. And I'm just summarizing a very big story because there's more to it, but that's
Yeah.
just kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, and just from like your Spotify bio, there's a lot to Henao than just what you're telling us. But I do want to kind of know, I want to dig a little deeper before you started writing hooks for underground rappers, and before you probably even got to school. Like, what do you remember, or what's like one of your earliest memories that you like felt this connection with music?
So I know exactly when that was. So whenever I want to say I was in first grade, my uncle gave me a cassette. Like back in the day, like how you could just like record. You
Yeah,
can flip it, not actually buy the cassette, but you just like record it from like a CD, like bootleg kind of shit. So
yeah,
that's literally what he did. And he gave me, it was like a Selena cassette. Like it was like the front and back was just all Selena music.
wow,
So I mean, I grew up listening to like the music my dad would play in the house. Like my dad listened to everything. And I think that's such a beautiful thing because that definitely opened and broadened my horizons with like different genres of music. And I felt like, I connected, I would listen to it, but nothing connected me more than Selena's music. And I remember my parents' old car had a little cassette player, and they would put the cassette, and I'd just be like that little girl in the back seat, again, flip the cassette again, again. And I kid you not, I'm just like thinking about it now. I was like, they're so supportive because I'm like, what parent would want to listen to the same music all over again,
yeah,
again and again and again? So I remember like, just being in the back seat, like singing my little heart out and just like, having that's when I felt the connection. And I just started really like falling in love with like the whole idea of like, singing. And I would see her on TV, and like I mean, obviously, unfortunately, I got to see her before she passed away, but at her last concert in the Astrodome. And I remember that moment too. Like it was one of those things where it's just like you're just so inspired by somebody else, and you're just like, it broadens your horizons, and you're like, well, I want to sing, I want to be just like her.
yeah,
And that's kind of how it started for me. Like I just felt like I love her presence and I love everything about her. And then you know as a child, you're like, you sing your heart out, you don't know if you have a singing voice, right? But
right,
then slowly, as I started to get older, like my family started to notice, like, oh, she does. They would always be like, oh, sing Selena's song, sing Selena's song. So then that's how it happened. And then that's when I knew with time, like, oh, okay, I do have a singing voice. And that's just kind of how it evolved. But I want to say, like, she was like the source of inspiration of me wanting to love music, wanting to love fashion, loving that presence, that spotlight, bringing a whole experience to people. I feel like that's where it all stemmed from for sure.
yeah. And the fact that you got to see her, and the fact that she's like from your
Yeah.
same state, like that
Yeah.
probably elevated even more. You're like, this is possible. And for a Latina
100%.
too.
She was so big here in Texas. Like, I mean, this is
Yeah,
I think she's from like Lake Jackson or something like that, but it's not that far from Houston. So yeah, it's like everybody, for if you're from Texas, you knew who she was. I don't
absolutely.
know anybody who didn't know who she was.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right now, I want to take a little pause because I know you recorded a few songs for us. You recorded 2 songs for this interview. I want to get into the first song, which is your latest single called Mi Quede. So let's get into it, and then we'll talk about it.
Yo no sabía que sobre fuego yo caminaría, y aunque te quería besar, fue mejor ver y no tocarte. Mientras bebías y que aumentaba tu valía, tremendas cosas cosas que tú me decías. Y aunque te quería besar, fue mejor ver y no tocarte. Cuando llegamos al cuarto, la magia se acabó. ¿Qué estabas ocultando? Y yo no sabía si irme o quedarme, si irme o quedarme, y me quedé. Y yo no sabía si irme o quedarme, si irme o quedarme, y me quedé. Me quedé con las ganas de. Me quedé con las ganas de. Con la gana de desbaratar tu cama, de tener tu cuerpo hasta la mañana. Y eso que no supe ni cómo te llamas. Hay que saber elegir las batallas. En la bolsa de tu jean tú lo guardabas ahí. Ese anillo se asomaba y de suerte yo lo vi, sí que lo vi. Por eso me fui. Yo no quiero ser quien la hace sufrir. Cuando llegamos al cuarto, la magia se acabó. Vi que estabas ocultando. Y yo no sabía si irme o quedarme, si irme o quedarme, y me quedé. Y yo no sabía si irme o quedarme, si irme o quedarme, y me quedé. Me quedé con las ganas de. Me quedé con las ganas de.
So thank you for recording, Mi Quede. Turned out wonderful. Thank you for that. It's your latest single. I want to know a little bit the story behind Mi Quede. Like, do you remember where you were when the lyrics came to you?
So I will give it a little background on this story. So the writing did not come from me. So the songwriter that we had in the session, her name is Carola. She's from Mexico. She came in the session with a storyline. She was just like, I have this song written. The whole idea was like, for me, this song is super special because it is my first full Latin song. I feel like
Yeah.
the last couple of tracks that I've been dabbling into, it's like, adding that Spanish, but like, Spanglish, not all full, just like mixing it. Like, I feel so much more comfortable singing in English, but it's something that opened the doors for me in the Latin community and in the Latin industry, that I was just like, you got to tackle it and try something different. So I started kind of dabbing into that world. And for me, when we worked on Me Quede, it was such an amazing opportunity because I know this was going to be the song. This is going to be the song that we are going to do full Spanish. So I remember I was in the session. The producer, his name is Sac Passe. He's the one who produced this track. And I had my friend Vic. I was like, hey, do you know any Latin songwriters here in LA? Like, I need an amazing one in the session, because I already had my friend Kalina, who's also a songwriter from Colombia, in town. So I was just like, let's just bring somebody else, because I do need help with that part, because I know I've tried and I'm still developing that side of me, but I know sometimes I'm just like, I'll be like, yeah, I have this idea, and they'll be like, oh, that's corny, the slang, it's just not the same, and I'm just like, okay. But I'm open to it, and the more people I work with, the better, because it just definitely helps the growth and like that sense of like writing more in Spanish. I feel more comfortable with it. So when Carola came in the session, like, she already had this song written, and she kind of gave me the storyline. And I was like, well, I obviously cannot relate whatsoever to the song, the meaning behind it about being with a married man. And like, you kind of like, I want to dive into it, but I know it's not good for me. And the kind of like, back and forth, not knowing what to do. So I told her, I was like, that's a very interesting story. Like, I've never written anything. I mean, never sung anything in regards to that. So why not, like, why not try something different? And not necessarily you have to relate to all your songs. You create music to tell stories and like for other people to connect with it, so maybe I can't relate to it, but I know other people can, however they want to take the storyline, if it's like a good thing, a bad thing. I mean, we all learn from our mistakes and our lessons in life, so everything is just kind of like the journey and the road we all go through. And I kind of felt like this EP that we're developing, the whole idea is kind of like to create like these movies, drama, like kind of stories. So I was just like, let's go for it. And it was really nice because like, the girls were there and they were able to like, even with some pronunciation, even though my Spanish is pretty good, but sometimes there might be certain things that I don't pronounce right because, that's just the beauty of growing up bilingual. You lack in both areas.
Yeah, same here.
Just as English I can mess up, I mess up in Spanish too. It's like even, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Same here.
so that's kind of like the gist of it. Like I felt like, this is something different and I absolutely love it. And I remember like whenever we finished the song, I was just so happy with it. It was catchy, it was like vibey, and it was just one of those things where it's just like this is setting me up for like the next projects that we have in the next songs because they're,
Yeah.
like tapping more into that Latin culture and like doing full Latin songs. So it's really exciting.
So is that something that you're gonna strive for in your next song when you're looking for it? Like that it's gonna be fully in Spanish, or you can just,
Yeah.
or you also kind of strive for like a balance. Maybe not like in the same song where it's English and Spanish, but when you have one song in Spanish, one song in English, and then you keep alternating.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a balance. I feel like for the most part, like my team and I want to tackle more into like the Latin market and just kind of focus in that world right now. And then we'll slowly start to gear back in the English market. I feel like even the projects that we have right now, like a lot of the newer songs that are coming, they're all full Spanish. So the idea is to just kind of like, okay, we're gonna do full Spanish. Like I know, like my manager was like, oh, let's do 80% Spanish and maybe like that 20% English, So we're just kind of more in the Latin market. But I do want to have a balance. I feel like, if I can strive and really push forward in both markets, why not? Like I don't feel like I gotta settle for just one.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of being bilingual and being able to showcase different parts of you. Like my family's Colombian and I, as a child went a lot and spent a lot of my summers, like we didn't go to Disney. Disney wasn't a thing for us. It was like, we're going to go to Colombia and stay in Colombia for like 3 months,
Yeah, same, yeah.
So it's just one of those things where it's just like you grow up in that culture too. So it's like the dynamic for me of like growing up in Texas and Houston, being part of like, the hip hop culture here, the R&B culture here, and growing up with like, the English music in that market. And then you have like the Latin side where you have like all these different genres of like a huge vast like of different types of music. So it's just one of those things where it's just like, if I can push myself in both and just experiment and implement like everything that inspired me, then that's what I'm going to aim for, and what created me as a human and what inspires me in the music industry.
Well, I think that sentiment also reaches to your audience. I mean, me and others we grew up like that. Like the experience you were just explaining, we all, at least a great majority of us, experienced two cultures simultaneously while growing up in America. I know when I hear a song in English, but then they throw in some Spanish there's something in me that like just like goes to this place of like, oh my God, that is cool. Like I connect to those songs a little bit more, and I feel like I have a secret with like people that only speak English. Because I'm like, I know you know half of this song. I know the entire thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're like, I have more advantage than you, just so you know.
Exactly.
But no, but I honestly, I feel like this is the time, like, especially right now in the music industry, I feel like a lot of there's this huge Latin way that's been going on for like the past, I want to say 3 to 4 years. And it's becoming to a point where it's just like, oh, it's more accepted in America. Like now people know who Bad Bunny is. Now people know who J Balvin is. It doesn't matter if you're American, you're from Asia, like, you just become global in a sense,
worldwide, exactly.
So I think that's beautiful that it's just like the Latin music industry has gotten more broader and people are connected more in it, and there's no barriers anymore. You know what I mean? So I feel like if I don't take advantage of this moment that's going on and being a part of that, then I'm missing out. You know what I mean? I'm not really doing my due diligence. I feel like I really have to express that and also implement my upbringings and how I grew up, and if that's what it is and I'm part of both cultures and I want to implement that in my music 100%.
Yeah, exactly. It's how we grew up, speaking two languages. You go home, you speak Spanish. You go outside, you speak English.
Exactly.
And talking about bilingual lyrics, let's get into the second song you recorded for us, which is also
Yes.
it's English and Spanish. So let's get into Control, your last single.
City lights dancing off your face. We would go till the sun comes up. Go till the sun comes up. Tangled up, casting over games. But you call when I need your love. Call when I need your love. Tiempo trae el dolor. Todo lo que supe yo de amor. Todavía no entiendo lo que siento. Sin razones yo peleo contra el viento. Baby, it's a war. Every time I try to close the door, you pull me right back to the rhythm of the tempo. Don't know why I never catch you go. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Tierra firme cada vez que piso. Me arruinas el flow del camino. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Cuando estoy sola no hay señales de peligro. Contigo pierdo el control. Contigo pierdo el control. Take it back, take it to your place. When I know I should give you up. I should give you up. You got something I can't replace. So I call when I need your love. Call when I need your love. Tiempo trae el dolor. Todo lo que supe yo de amor. Todavía no entiendo lo que siento. Sin razones yo peleo contra el viento. Baby, it's a war. Every time I try to close the door, you pull me right back to the rhythm of the tempo. Don't know why I never can let you go. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Tierra firme cada vez que piso. Me arruinas el flow del camino. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Ooh la la, ooh la la. Cuando estoy sola no hay señales de peligro. Contigo pierdo el control. Contigo pierdo el control.
I think that's really cool about like control because it sounds like you can say control or you can say control.
Yeah,
Like,
I like that.
see the play in there? I have another song that's like that too. It's like it was in the last EP. It was called Real, and then you can say real. So it's like I did that. It was kind of like also like on purpose too, like to know that you can use the word and just kind of use it both in English and Spanish without having to change the letters.
Yeah, it's true. I like that. And I didn't really think about that because, as a bilingual, having that bilingual sound, you just say it, whatever.
Exactly.
Control or control. It's like a slight change, but it makes a huge difference.
Exactly.
I think I'm going to leave that in there. I like that. But can you, thank you again for recording that song. Can you tell me a little history behind that, a little behind the scenes of the song?
Control is my absolute favorite song that I have in my catalog. There's just something about that song that I just feel so connected to. So the backstory with this song, one of my really good friends, his name is Vic Lopez. He was kind of forming like a group, like not like, oh, we were working directly with like labels, or we just like forming a small group in LA to where we wanted to make like Latin music and create songs to pitch for different labels. And I remember like one of the sessions that we had, that was one of the songs that we worked on. And it was really cool because Connor and Riley, who are from a band called Before You Exit, really talented human beings. Like I absolutely adore them. And this was their first stab at a Latin song. They had never ever worked on a Latin track. Yeah. So it was fun because it's like I almost like and obviously like, I feel like, Latin people can create amazing Latin music, but I also love when someone who is not Latin creates their own version of what they, what feels to them Latin, and they just add all these other influences into it. And you hear these sounds and it's so rich and just like flavorful, and you just have like, different dynamics and sonically in the song that is not typically found in all Latin music. So when Connor worked on the track, we were just like, this is a banger. This is like really good. And I remember, we all wrote it. Castle, who's another songwriter, he also was part of the writing session, and we just kind of like all worked together. And we had the song we worked on it for about 3 years ago. And I ended up cutting the vocals, and there was something about like, I don't know if I was like the biggest cheerleader of the song, but I would always listen to it. We had it on a private SoundCloud link, and I would always play it in the car. Anywhere I went, no matter what time of the year, whenever I was like, I just want to listen to Control. So I just like put it on, and I just be like, damn, this is such a good song. Like, what's going to happen with it? Because we were pitching it. And then it just kind of felt like, it didn't really get anywhere. Like, it was just kind of sitting in a desktop, with many different labels and, A&Rs and things like that. So it got to a point where I was just like, well, I'm working on a project, and I know I'm looking to add more songs to the project. And ironically, like the last project that I worked on, Paraíso, was in that world of like where I was starting to dab into the Latin market, doing Spanglish music and kind of mixing in that vibe, which was not intentional at all. It just kind of all in fruition just evolved into that. And ironically, we had worked this song prior to that, not even thinking that maybe like, a couple years later, this was the kind of music I was going to be creating. And long story short, like I remember I was like, all right, it's been 3 years, nothing's happened to the song. So I hit up my friend Vic, and I was like, hey, you remember that song Control? I told you I'd come back for it. Well, now is the time. I'm ready for it. And he's like, all right, cool. Like, just, you got my blessing, Castle's, he's down for it too. You just got to go through Connor and Riley. They're the ones that have the last say. And I was like, okay, oh, I'm so nervous. Are they going to say yes? I don't know. But it doesn't hurt. The worst anyone can ever tell you is no, right? Like you cannot be fearful of or intimidated or anything like that. I was like, I'm just going to take a stab at it. And if it's meant to be, it's going to work out. If it's not, then hopefully one day somebody else will bring light to it. And surely enough, they were like, yes, we would love to. And we negotiated, everything all fell into place. We worked it all out. And then I was finally able to release the song. And I was just so happy because like I got the most positive feedback. The song got playlisted so much. It got so much love for the DSPs. Like it was just so amazing. And I was just like, I knew it. Like, when you just have that gut feeling, you're just like your intuition, you're just like, I know this song's gonna be something special. And that's exactly what it was. And because I remember we got some feedback from other people, and they're like, oh, maybe not, blah, blah, blah. You'd be surprised. And I was just like, whatever. You can say no, but a million other people will say yes. I'll let the public decide.
Yeah, and they always surprise you. They always do.
Yeah,
I've seen it so many times.
I feel like with a lot of A&Rs can be right, and a lot of them can be wrong. You know what I mean? I feel at the end of the day, it's always going to be the public that decides whether they feel a connection to a song or they don't. And I feel like this was one of those songs. And I mean, I have not gotten one single feedback from everybody's like, this is like your best song. We absolutely love it. It's just so good. It's like top 40 type stuff. Like it's just so catchy. And I'm like, I knew it. Yes. It was worth the wait. Like it was honestly worth the wait. Like I knew part of me, when you just kind of like, not saying that I was trying to manifest it, but I just had that feeling. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be patient. I'm gonna come back for this song, not even knowing I was gonna be doing Spanglish music or even this type of music. I thought I was just going to be doing English music, at least until like I got to a certain level where I was like, okay, maybe I'll start introducing Spanish, but it wasn't like, oh, surely after, and yeah, that's kind of the story behind this one. And it holds a special, it holds a very special place in my heart. And I absolutely love this song.
That's wonderful. That's so crazy to think about, that a song that has been received well and has done well in the streamings, that it resurfaced after 3 years. You were like kind of this close to not doing it at all.
Yeah, I mean, that could have happened. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm always going to respect everyone's decision. You know, I know that it's always like that difficulty sometimes with like, sometimes with independent artists and, well, like established labeled artists and things like that. That's always like tricky, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's like if you believe in it and the success of it, like it's worth it. I feel like any song is worth it because I can't even imagine how many songs are sitting in emails and desktops that are probably like the next top hits and no one's really paying attention to them, and that's just it's unfortunate, but it's true. That's just how the industry works.
It's so true. And that goes with a lot of things. And people saying no to you for whatever reason, and they're not right. Most of the time, they're not right. And you got to go with your gut. And you did go with your gut. And look at it. There you are now.
Yes, thankfully. I'm just like, it's been awesome. It's definitely it's been received very well. And I'm just like, I'm glad because, at least the guys get to feel like, okay, it was worth it and not like, oh, dang, we just wasted a good song or something. I don't know.
And
you never know.
And you showed all the haters that you can. That's what.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you. That is all the time we have. We've been talking for quite a while. Thank you again for your time. I still want to know a little bit before you leave. What's coming down this for like the rest of the year for you? How many more singles can we expect from you, or an album or an EP? What's coming down the pipeline?
So we have an amazing song coming out soon. We haven't established a date yet because we're working like on the visuals and all that good stuff, but the song's ready to go. It's called Tiramisu. I'm expecting for it to be released in August, probably end of August. So I'm really excited because this one, the music video is really cool. It was shot in Colombia and we made it like super like, we added all these Colombian elements to it, made it feel very rich and like beautiful scenically. And I just feel like this one is one that I feel very connected to. An amazing team worked behind this track, which I'm sure I'll share more later. But yeah, so that's gonna be the next single. And then right now we might have another single after that. We're just kind of waiting back to hear on a potential feature for that track, which is also gonna be a full Latin song. And yeah, and we're gonna release it all in an EP at the end of the year. So that's the goal. And then we're gonna be working on some good stuff for next year. So I'm really excited because it's just gonna get better and better every year. I just feel it, like especially like all like the new teams I'm working with and like the new stuff that is gonna come out next year. Like, oh, it's gonna be amazing. I'm just like, I'm waiting for it.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I like the name of the next single, Tiramisu.
Yes.
Dessert.
Yeah, it makes you guess like, what could this song be about?
Definitely tasty for sure.
Yes, it is.
Well, and now it was such a pleasure meeting you and getting to know more about your most recent singles, Mi Quede and Control. I wish you a ton of luck in the future. I'm sure you're going to go up and up from here on. It's right there.
Aw, thank you. I'm so excited. And thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure and always talking to you. And this will not be the last. I'm sure we will. And hopefully it'll be in person next time because I'm ready for this in-person stuff.
Hopefully,
this
yeah.
virtual stuff, I'm just like,
When you come to Los Angeles, we'll be here. You can come into the studios over here.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. And there we go.
Too.
Hasta la vista. Hasta la próxima.
Ciao.